Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 386 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Bekkah and Ruthie, and I'm trying to remember. I think I met them in Witness Protection Program because I have no idea what their last name is. They are actually sisters, and they're all into entrepreneurship. So I'll have to call my probation officer and find out what their names are, if they'll even tell me. But anyway, we'll talk to them in a minute. So how would you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if the show's helped you out at all in your business or given you an idea to start a business, we want to hear about it. So visit screwthecommute.com and look for a little blue sidebar that says send a voicemail. Click on it, talk into your phone or computer, tell me how the show's helped you, and don't forget to put your website in there so I can give you a big shout out on a future episode of Screw the Commute. Now, make sure you grab a copy of our automation ebook. This book we sell for $27, but it's yours free for listening to the show. And just one of the tips in this book, folks, one of the tips. We figured it out. I'm not just making this out of thin air. Just one of the tips has saved me 7.5 million keystrokes. So this whole book is full of stuff that allows me to handle customers and contacts with lightning speed. I've handled up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out, using the techniques in this book, and it's yours free. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free, and grab a copy while you're over there of our podcast app. Put us on your cell phone or tablet and take us with you on the road at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. Now, I have been living a lifestyle business online since 1994, probably before our guests were even born, or they're in diapers at least. And it's just one of the greatest business I've ever been in. In 44 years of formal business, this is by far the best. But guess what? People are suffering now. They're hurting. They're losing their jobs. Their kids they have to quit their jobs because their kids are home doing, trying to learn distance learning. And it's also almost impossible for little kids to really, learn well that way. Well, guess what? If you could sell from home legitimately, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So I don't worry about it, and my students don't worry about it because we can legitimately sell from home. So about 12 years ago, I decided to formalize this in the form of a school. It's the only licensed, dedicated internet marketing school in the country, probably the world, and it teaches the hardcore skills that every business on earth needs. So you're not stuck with a 4-year, super amount of debt, and then you get your MBA and you're competing for jobs at Starbucks. No, that's the way it is now, but it doesn't have to be there, because as a young person in your life, you can give them a scholarship to this school, and then they won't come home and live in your basement. They'll have their own money, and they'll have an actual career with that's in high demand. So check it out at imtcva.org. It's certified to operate by SHEV, the State Council on Higher Education in Virginia, but you don't have to be in Virginia because you can legitimately study from home, and it's more obvious than ever that you can legitimately work at home now. So check that out, and a little later, I'll tell you how you can get a scholarship to the school if you're in my mentor program. All right, let's get to the main event. Bekkah is a business owner and a serial entrepreneur, and her sister Ruthie is a financial coach. She's certified through Dave Ramsey. Now, they both love fun and talking about business. You can hang out with them on their podcast called Business Talk Sister Gawk, Gawk. We got to find out where that name came from, where they demystify all sorts of business topics so you can try it yourself. Bekkah and Ruthie, are you ready to screw the commute?
Yeah, I guess.
Pause there was a little awkward.
Yeah, I know. Well, see, I was checking to see if you actually listened to any of my episodes because we always start them that way.
I wasn't sure if it was like a stutter or something, or if you intentionally did that.
No, that's totally intentional. Yeah, I can on this audio, I can see you blushing already. So my biggest question is, who's older?
I am.
Bekkah. Well, who's that? Who's I?
That's Bekkah. Bekkah's older.
Bekkah. Yeah, I'm going to have trouble keeping track of you two this time. Maybe I should turn the video. Keep track of you two. So I don't care which one of you does it, but tell me what you're doing now, and then we're going to take you back to when you were little girls and see how you fought it out then.
Yeah, Bekkah, you go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so I'm a marketing consultant. I've been doing that for a while, but I also love other businesses. So I've dabbled in a couple other ones, as well as looked at different ways to sell online and retail and Etsy and everything few and far between.
Anything you stuck with, or you just try them out so that you can report them to your listeners?
Well, recently I've been doing a lot more, looking at how to help businesses with return on investment in the marketing consulting, specifically around, almost understanding and keeping marketing agencies accountable if you subcontract that. And then also how to access capital, so that whatever you're investing in, it's, a better return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did see both of you on video before we got on the podcast, and neither one of you looks like a bulldozer, but you're known as the Human Bulldozer. So what's that all about?
I can tell you a whole lot of information really quickly and lots of different ways that you can strategize going about something. And it usually feels like after you've talked to me, you've drank from the fire hose and you need to take a breather.
I've learned to do a lot of and then process later.
So you can speak at 180 words a minute with gusts to 250, something like that.
Yep.
All right, Ruthie, what's your story?
So I am a financial coach, like you had mentioned, and I work with people on their more the day-to-day financial things like budgeting and long-term planning. And I don't necessarily pick out the specific investments that you should be placing your money in, but I would direct you to people that have the wherewithal to be able to give you really guided instruction on that. And so I just focus a lot on behavioral finance, and I love it. I love working with people and seeing lives changed. I've led different classes, and collectively to date, I've helped people pay off over $150,000 in debt.
Wow.
Which is, it's been a cool journey to kind of walk through that. And I just wanted to say, Bekkah totally undersold herself. Bekkah is one of the most driven people I have ever met in my entire life. And she just seriously, and she's always working on 20,000 different projects, and is always looking for ways to connect people to do amazing things, and has seen a lot of success in other people's businesses directly because of what she does for them.
Well, I think that's why you each wrote your opposites bio on your website.
Yeah.
So, but Ruthie, I hear that you do some freelancing, and I was thinking about hiring you. As long as you'll travel, because you got to come to Virginia Beach. But my light switches are all dirty, and I really need someone to clean them up. Tell everybody what I'm talking about there. Bekkah, tell them what I'm talking about.
Ruthie is the detailed person in our relationship. I am a visionary, and I get everyone on the train, and I'm there's a flood coming, get on the train. Ruthie's the person that's oh, but this person needs a little bit more time. Would you like some water? Can I get you something else? And so she's very detail oriented, and sometimes so detail oriented that she'll call me and say, the light switches were just so dirty, so I went around and cleaned all the covers today. And I'm just Okay.
And that's just like one example of that. I call it productive procrastination. If there's something really big I have to get done, you better believe I'm going to find some ridiculously detail-oriented project that I'll be working on for 4 hours and then be like, oh, I really should advance on this other project that I was supposed to have done. I get it done, but I find a lot of comfort in the details.
Well, yeah, that's good if you're doing it for comfort. I mean, it is seriously a problem with some really analytical people because they will get consumed on a project that's not paying back that much.
And that's why Bekkah and I are a good pair, because she keeps me moving forward. She's like, that's not that important. Do this next. And I'm like, okay.
There you go. Yin and yang, they call that. So Bekkah, what if Ruthie is not going to come help me out with my light switches? I was I'm a little bit hungry after the show, and I'm wondering if you could send me some of those chicken nugget bracelets that you've been working on.
Oh, yeah. Ruthie decided one day she wanted to like make a chicken nugget bracelet company.
Oh, that was Ruthie's idea?
But Bekkah's the implementation piece. So
I see. So you had to go to McDonald's and test them out and what kind of...
Yeah, so Ruthie's like the person like that just like, oh, that would be a cool idea. And then she's like telling me about it. And I'm like, well, if you want to do that, you're going to have to make sure that it's Food and Drug Administration approved or whatever. And you're going to probably have to do it in a commercial kitchen. And you're going to need to do this. And she's like, okay, never mind. I don't want to do that anymore.
I'll go back to my light switches. So Ruthie, I heard something about your kind of person. And I want to check with you, see if you know about it or say it's true, untrue, or whatever. But you are a redhead, right?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I heard that they are becoming extinct. Is that true?
Well, I know that we make up 2% of the population, which is... I don't know. That's a smaller percentage. What?
I love that you know the stats. Let's go.
But I also know that they have a gathering of gingers that go to, I think it's Ireland. It's either Ireland or Scotland. I feel like it's Ireland. And there seems like there's a decent amount of people who attend that every year. So I feel like if we are dwindling in numbers, they at least congregate well.
Well, do you have to mate with another redhead to keep the redheads going or what?
Well, so nobody else in my family, there's 7 kids in our family, nobody else has red hair, and neither my parents do or grandparents, or I have like a great aunt that has red hair. So I don't know.
I was just wondering because I was going to offer myself to help propagate the species if you get really hard up, for somebody.
I think it's more of a genetic mutation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I definitely am a mutation. For sure.
I think it's like an overabundance of keratin or something like that. So that's the genetic mutation.
So
I should do more research.
More carrots doesn't do it, huh?
Yeah.
So do you two never fight?
I don't know where you got that idea.
Yeah,
I ask as a question. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
What was the last fight? How often do you fight, and what was the last one about?
So the biggest last fight we had was.
Do you live together? Do you live together?
No, not
Been
there.
there, done that.
Tried that.
Oh, you tried that. It was too many bruises. Yeah, okay.
Working together and living together turned out to be a pretty cataclysmic combination.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I started a business because I couldn't work with her anymore.
So how often do you fight, and what was the last one about?
So they're pretty few and far in between, but when they do happen, it's usually it's a collection that's been building for a while, and then it just kind of and Bekkah and I are both extreme verbal processors, so all of it needs to come out at that point, and so then it's just a lot of things
you didn't wish you wouldn't have said.
Well, I wouldn't say that. No, actually, all of it's very productive, but it's just at the top of your lungs, very close to one another's.
Neighbors are looking at like when somebody's getting killed.
And I always tell Bekkah that I would rather spend 40 minutes screaming at each other than 10 years of not talking to each other. I would so much rather just work it out and be done with it than let it fester and then we not talk through it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good idea. Now, so are either one of you married, or I mean,
And I'm going to tell
you screaming?
I'll tell you about this last fight that we had because it was pretty memorable. This is Bekkah.
Okay.
So actually, this is like because my husband and I are we've been married for a while, and then Ruthie called me one day and was like, "I think I'm going to quit school and get a job where you're working, and can I move in with you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I told
Can we please just backtrack here?
No.
I said I'm moving home. So there were some health things going on with my mom. I was quitting school, and then I was like, I think I'm going to apply for this place that you're working at. But she was like, "Oh yeah, do that, and you should move in with us, and like you do this." So like that was all her idea.
So for the record. I told
here
my
comes
husband,
an argument right in the middle of the podcast.
A different story. Anyways, so I was like, yeah, Ruthie said she wants to move in with us, but I don't think she's going to do it. And then she did. So that was like, oh, okay. I should have probably asked first.
Your husband, right?
Yeah. And then, so she lived with us for about 8 months.
How many bathrooms you got?
We have one bathroom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let me tell you, our utility bill went up like $100 a month because of how long her showers are. But so like we were like something was just building, and my husband was like, "Well, you guys need to talk it out," because he's very much like a conflict resolver. And I'm like, you don't know our fights. We're not ready to talk it out yet. Like, we're not ready. And he's like, "Well, I'll mediate for you." I'm like, "You don't even know what you're getting into, man." And so we finally Joel really pushed us to like have this conversation when neither of us were ready for it.
And this is coming from the backstory of my dad used to mediate our arguments, that he would just, my mom was very much, you sit in a room, and she would just lock us in there, and she was like, "You cannot come out until this is resolved." And my dad
What's the age difference between you two?
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Okay.
And my dad would just sit there and then just make sure nothing got violent. And we would just.
Are you a fiery redhead? Is that what they call redheads? Fiery sometimes?
I would, to a fault, unfortunately. Yeah.
I think we both are very fiery, spirited people. But that basically, essentially what happened is we yelled at each other. I squashed a chip. Some guacamole went all over the floor, and a fork got thrown at the wall.
So who paid the extra $100 a month? That's a lot of water, but
I paid rent. I paid rent.
Yeah, she did.
All right, so take us back to when you two were little. Did you have like lemonade stands, or were you entrepreneurial at all as a kid? Kids?
I definitely was. This is Bekkah. My first business I wanted to do was sell candy at baseball games. And obviously, like, there's a concession stand, but I decided that if I could do, right, like to the stand service, just like those guys do back and forth at the big baseball games, I could make more money than them because it's convenience. So I bought a whole bunch of little mini size candy bars because I really learned that soccer moms and baseball player moms are like more health conscious about getting massive candy bars. And so I would do the mini.
And then you got taken out in handcuffs, right?
Yeah, and I would sell it for 25 cents.
How old were you? I
was probably like 8.
Okay.
But I left all of my inventory in the minivan, and they all got melted. And that just really taught me a whole lot about inventory supplies and investing.
I would have just said, "See, you got to think outside the box." I'd have said, "I have fondue for everybody." You don't see that at baseball games.
I think there's a reason you don't see that at baseball games.
I guess so. All right. So that was a good short-term business. So, how about you, Bekkah?
Ruthie, or did you want to hear another story?
Whose was that?
That was mine, Bekkah.
That was Bekkah's.
Okay. Ruthie, did you do anything as a child?
I was a lot more. I would try to get everybody on board to do something. So if it was like, Bekkah was very much, I don't care if anybody's going to do this with me. I'm going for it. And she would just full send into whatever she was doing. And I was very much like, let's build group consensus, make sure everybody pools their money, and then we go forward with something. Yeah.
Which led to some also poor investments as a family.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that happens. So are you two actually in business together now, or just doing the podcast together?
So we actually have like a contract agreement with the podcast that is like, basically it's like 50% intellectual property. So like, I mean, that's kind of where we were like, let's do this together. And then we're actually separate in terms of our businesses. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
See, I have enormous amounts of information products, but I don't really call it intellectual property because I'm not that intellectual. So I just call it a product. So give the folks some tips of the things that you help your clients and what you're teaching with your podcast.
Yeah. Ruthie, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So kind of what we focus on, I know we've talked about how we are really passionate about entrepreneurship and things like that, but really what we enjoy doing is meeting people and hearing their stories and how they do what they do, how they got there, and simplifying it to a point that anybody who had an inkling of that kind of business would be able to say, I know where to start. Based on the interviews that we do with people, we always ask them who they are and what they do, why they do it, and then what they would recommend to somebody else starting out. And we specifically focus on free resources that they have or that they know of to help someone starting out in that specific kind of business. So I think... Yeah,
and you got quite an array. I saw woodworking and other, all kinds of different businesses.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the reason why we focus on that is because what we found when we were younger, because the majority of the time, if you're an entrepreneur, when you commonly talk to somebody who's an entrepreneur, they had someone in their immediate family that was also an entrepreneur that taught them how to do entrepreneurship. Whereas like when we were younger, I mean, we didn't really have that opportunity as much. And there was always times where I was like, wow, like somebody's like, one of my friends was raising chickens, I should say, not growing them. That'd be weird. But yeah, so raising chickens, and then he was butchering them and selling them. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I want to figure out how to make money doing something like that. But I do not want to take care of birds or have chickens anywhere in my life. And so like, how is there other opportunities for me to make money or try things that I could grow into some kind of business? Like, how do I go about that? And there weren't really any resources for that when I was growing up. And we actually just talked to somebody last night who was like, oh, I'm so passionate about this, that advisors in schools like really don't prepare people to be entrepreneurs. They prepare them to get into colleges. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also a huge missed opportunity for a lot of people that's what they're really good at, is running a business or being able to make something and sell it, right? So we try to interview a ton of different variety of people on purpose, because it's sometimes when you think about, oh, I want to own this kind of business someday, it's really overwhelming to think about where even to get started to find resources for that.
Now, you actually did have someone in your family that was an entrepreneur because your dad was doing mediation work. Because you two were fighting.
That's true. I don't think he charged a commission for that, though.
Yeah.
Hey, that is a profession you can interview people about mediation work. Instead of going to court, a mediator sits people down and lets them fight it out, without going to court. So.
Are you offering your services to us?
No, not me. I would not dare get in between you two. Yeah.
That's probably a good choice.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that you two are so much fun because of Ruthie. And the reason is my mother's name was Ruth, and I never liked her at all.
So that can be the redeeming Ruth in the scenario.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't run into Ruths or Ruthies very often anymore, to tell you the truth. So how'd you get that name, by the way? Because that's not a kind of a modern name for your age.
Yeah. So Ruth, my full name is Ruth Eliza, but everybody always spells Eliza wrong. So I just go by Ruthie.
Ruth Eliza. All right, how did you get that one?
Eliza is a derivative of Elizabeth, and my mom's sister is named Elizabeth, so I was named that. And then Ruth, I honestly, I think it's just because of the biblical character Ruth, but otherwise I don't know.
Oh.
It's also because the first 3 girls are all ours.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. There's 7 people altogether, right? There's a funny comedian on Dry Bar Comedy. It's all clean comedy.
Yeah.
And he says, they named me Lemangelo because my mother liked lemon jello. so I'm just plain old Tom over here. So
I'm sure we can figure out some good nicknames for you, my friend.
Well, that was my next thing is since I'm having you on my podcast, you kind of owe me. And I don't want to get out of here without getting a nickname. Now, you can follow up later with it, but I have a couple already. One is called the Prank Master from the entertainment company I had. I was telling you about where we custom designed practical jokes. And the other one is called the King of Ka-ching, because my email goes ka-ching when an order comes in. And so you're going to have to, you can't use those two. In other words, you got to think up something else.
Oh, well, right. Thanks for narrowing it down for us.
you can reveal it. I'm going to be on your podcast one of these days, so you can reveal it there.
Okay. I am so excited to introduce you as that with no context to you.
Yeah.
Are those?
Well, do whatever you want. It's your show.
Are those self-proclaimed nicknames that you've given to yourself?
Well, the Prank Master was the name of the company when we did 4,000 custom designed practical jokes up and around Washington, D.C. And so I think the newspaper, when I was written up in the Washington Post or something, they called me the Prank Master. And then one of my mentees, for years, I'd just been doing that. People come and actually live in this house with me for an immersion weekend. And the thing's going off all weekend, this ka-ching noise. And so she said, "You're the king of ka-ching, aren't you?" I said, "I guess I am now." So it kind of caught on. Yeah. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to ask Bekkah and Ruthie, what's a typical day look like for them and how they stay motivated? I always say that ahead of time so they can think about it while I'm running my mouth over here.
Okay.
So anyway, folks, about 22 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head because guys at my level were charging 50 or 100 grand up front to teach the stuff that they knew. And I knew a lot of these people that you give them 50 or 100 grand, they'd be hiding out in a snowdrift in Minnesota or something, so that they wouldn't help you if they take the money. So what I did is I said, it's not fair to try to small business people, treat them like that. So I said, I'm going to have an entry fee to my program and then a percentage of profits that was capped so they wouldn't be stuck with me forever. So for me to get my 50 grand, they had to clear a net 200 grand. Well, guess what? People loved this idea and they knew I wouldn't disappear on them. And 1,700 plus students later, over 20 some years, it's still going strong. And it's one of the most unique, it is the most unique program, longest running and most successful in the field of internet marketing. How do I say it's unique? Well, you have an immersion weekend in this big estate with me where you actually live in the house for the immersion weekend. We have a TV studio next door where we shoot marketing videos for you, edit them, put the graphics on, send them to you when you get back. It's been running longer than just about anybody since I was been here since the start of the commercial internet. So it's, and no lawsuits, nobody chasing me around, bad mouthing me because we take care of our customers. In fact, I wrote a book. One of my books is called The One Sentence Business Plan. So it's, we really take care of people around here. And also the other thing that's is people at my level won't even talk to you, let alone teach you anything. But the whole program is one-on-one. So you're not lumped in with people more advanced than you when you're lost, and you're not lumped with people that are beginners and then you're bored. So it's all one-on-one where me and my entire staff will take over your computer screen, show you where to click, and do the whole thing for you. So it's been very successful over many years. So that's at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And it also, if you're in the mentor program, you get a scholarship to the school I was telling you about. And we had one guy, he had spent $80,000 on a crappy education for his daughter, and she's working a crappy job. And he gifted the scholarship to her. And after 4 months in the school, she's up to $6,000 a month as a side hustle. And I even had her make an elective to teach the other students how to do it. So it's a very powerful, very unique deal that we've got going around here. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, let's get back to the main event. Bekkah and Ruthie are here with us from, I think you both live in Minnesota, right?
Yep, we both do.
They had to think about it. Then where do we live? How far away do you live from each other?
About an hour.
Oh, okay. So it's not too close where you can fight it out in person.
Good buffering distance.
Yes, perfect. And then Ruthie has to pay for her own showers.
That's right.
Yeah. So Bekkah, what's a typical day look like for you?
Well, I think I get up in the morning.
Good idea. That's awesome.
Yep,
That's a good start.
I have every morning. I start with making a list of everything.
How early do you get up?
You know what? It really depends on the day because I'm totally a night owl, but the rest of my family is morning people. So sometimes it's 5:30, sometimes it's 8 a.m.
Okay. All right. So you get up and then you immediately make a list, or you go have something to eat, or what's it like? You work out? What do you do?
My coffee is delivered to me very graciously by my husband before he leaves for work. Because he knows that if he tries to wake me up, it's going to be a crappy time. So he leaves it as a peace offering and then gets in the car and calls me.
Okay, good idea.
Yep. So that's how I get up in the morning. And then he goes to work and we talk on the phone for a little bit. And then I start my day. Either I shower first or I start my quiet time. And in my quiet time, then I start making my list as I'm journaling of what I need to get done. And the things that are coming to me during that time are what I focus on during the day for the most part. So that really keeps me on track to know exactly what hasn't been done or completed the previous day, and then what I'm going to be working on for that day. And we actually did like a couple episodes on productivity in the past, so we talk about that a little bit there.
Do you write out your goals for the day and stuff?
Yep, every day.
Wow, discipline. Do you get Ruthie to help you?
No, she does. She has her whole own process. She is she's got her another list. So you can go ahead, Ruthie.
All right. Yeah. Ruthie, what's your story?
Yeah. So I use something that's called block scheduling. And we also talked about that in our productivity tips, how to stay motivated when you're your own boss. So kind of how I structure my days in these different chunks. So each chunk has its own kind of criteria of what I can do during that time so that I don't get all over the place, just because I do get really scatterbrained and like to just dive into the details of something. So then I give myself permission to dive into the details at separate times of the day. So my day usually consists of those block schedules. And
what time you get up early? Do you work out? Either one of you work out or eat a certain thing? And
I work out. That? So I have had,
wait a minute. Who's older? I forget.
Bekkah.
I am.
Bekkah's older, 5 years older. Okay.
Bekkah's 5 years older, yeah. I wake up and I go and I usually make myself a smoothie, which has fruit and spinach and probably some kombucha. I make my own kombucha, which is so fun. And when
you get 5 years older like Bekkah and married, you'll forget all about that.
When you have children, it is not worth it.
Yeah. And then my workout, so because I had major hip surgery a couple of years ago, in 2019. So I try to stay on top of my physical therapy, but because I'm very busy, I'm always doing something. I try to incorporate my working out throughout the day. So if I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing squats. If I'm like putting away the dishes, I'm doing lunges.
Oh man, we got to have a visual of that. Your teeth. Do you make your toothbrush in sync with your squats?
No, I don't get that meticulous with it, but
all right.
yeah.
Detail.
That cracks me up.
That's kind of how my my workout routine goes.
Well, no, I want to hear some more of those things, like how you work out while you do other things.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like so for work, I work with throughout the day. My full-time job is to work with financial advisors on their digital marketing. And then what I do on the side is working with people on their financial coaching and things like that. And I do the marketing for a separate company. So that's not something that I run myself. But anyway, while I'm like, if I just throughout the day and stuff while I'm waiting for meetings with people, then I'm always reading. And I go on my bike, my stationary bike while I read.
Okay. All right.
So I read different books like just looking over here, I've got The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the Marketing Handbook for Financial Advisors, the Clifton Strength Finders, like all of those and so many others that while I read those, I'm always biking. So yeah, that's kind of my throughout the day. And then if I get I've had 4 concussions and been in 17 car accidents.
What?
So I
maybe you should move out of the snow belt. How about that?
Maybe there shouldn't be so many deer. That would really help
deer
the situation.
gotcha. Jeez.
Yeah. So whenever I start getting a lot of tension in my neck and stuff from different whiplash injuries and things, then I do a lot of shoulder exercises and push-ups and whatever. So anyway,
did you eat the deer?
I don't know. I think we've eaten like maybe 2 of them that we've hit or something.
When we were younger, we had this minivan that we just like kept hitting deer on the same side every single time. And we would just change out the headlight. And it was totally fine. We were like, you know what? It's drivable.
A friend of ours put a Band-Aid on that one side for us. So that was really helpful.
Wow. So, thinking I've been hunting for my whole life and never got a deer, and you guys get them just for free. So, in Montana, right? What part of Montana?
Minnesota, northern, yeah.
Oh, Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
What's the future hold for you two?
We have some pretty high goals in life. One of our goals is to be interviewed by or interview Gary Vee, as well as Dave Ramsey. And then we have a couple other goals in terms of like where we want to go with our podcast in terms of subscribers or like downloads, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we've been like going and pushing. But then in that too, on a personal level, Ruthie and I are obviously not stop speaking to one another.
Good goal.
Good goal to keep our relationship alive while we still work together, right? And then, our my family, we're going to be adopting hopefully soon. So we've got lots of different personal and professional goals that we're always pushing towards as well.
So when is this adoption going to happen? That's pretty cool.
We don't know. We're being considered right now for a couple different fits. So we're just waiting. But with COVID,
what are you
everything
shooting for? Longer. What are you shooting for? Like, I mean, a boy, girl?
Wow. We actually are being considered for a sibling group of 3.
Ooh, wow.
And then also like a few individual children. And we haven't heard back if we've been selected for any of them. So
this is a long process, right?
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Wow. Good for you. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and check out all your stuff.
Yeah, so you can actually get a hold of us by checking on our website, businesstalksistergawk.com. Or
wait. I forgot to ask you about that. What does that mean? And spell it out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can listen to us on any podcast app pretty much too as well. Business Talk Sister Gawk. And you wanted to know specifically about the
I want to know how the Sister Gawk came along. Yeah,
oh, yeah. So when every single episode.
Just look at each other all day long or what?
Yeah, so to gawk means to stare openly and stupidly. And we picked that because we just enjoy doing that a lot at different things in life. And so whenever we do an episode, the first part of it is business talk, where we really get to down to business of whatever the topic is. And then after that, we do the Sister Gawk, where we just talk about something ridiculous. And that is honestly one of my favorite parts, because sometimes our guests tell us really embarrassing moments from their life. And that's been enjoyable. But then also we also tell a lot of embarrassing moments from our lives as well.
Well, yeah, I get it. I watched like a 40-minute video the other day. Speaking of chicken, by the way, that there's some myth that if you slap a chicken enough times, it'll cook itself. so this guy built this machine to slap his chicken like over and over and over again, and chickens flying everywhere. And here I am, watching it. So I get it. So anyway, go ahead and give them the website again.
Yeah, so it is businesstalksistergawk.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Business Talk Sister Gawk, and then also on Instagram as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a blast talking to you two, and you got interesting family dynamic there. I don't have to fool with. I'm the baby. Nobody wants to talk to me at all. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, that was almost like in Harmony.
We didn't plan it.
All right. So thanks so much, ladies, and we will catch you on the next episode, everybody. Check the show notes for Business Talk Sister Gawk, GAWK.com. All right. We'll see you on the next episode.